Hello, and welcome to the Juneteenth 196 2020 Special Edition. B-HBrilliantMinds Project Inc. is honored to bring to you invited guests who will share their personal life experiences from past to present. B-HBrilliantMinds understands the importance of leaving a legacy that will carry on after we're gone. We know that we have the responsibility in keeping our stories alive, creating opportunities for the voices of our communities to be heard and seen. The Juneteenth 196 2020 Special Edition will capture the essence of why we are celebrating and honoring the backs and shoulders of our ancestors who we are standing on. Their resilience, their faith, their strength, their blood, sweat, and tears are the building blocks for the generation to come. We are blowing into the winds, creating an opportunity to prepare the brilliant minds of the future towards excellence. Hello, Mr. Jackson. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
All right. I just want to say once again, thank you for participating in the Juneteenth 196, and also want to let everyone know, if you are tuning in, you give the B.H. Brilliant Minds Project Inc. the authorization to use your voice, your picture, and your comments. So, Mr. Jackson,
Yes,
today I have a question for you, and it says, tell us about yourself, your family, your upbringing, and your passion.
Okay, so a little about myself. I am Julius Jackson. I do wellness coaching. I have a family of 6, 3 daughters and a son. I grew up in Benicia, California. And really, I'd say I had a very interesting dynamic, that kind of duality dynamic between growing up in Benicia and being fortunate enough to grow up in Benicia versus also spending time with my fathers in Oakland, and really seeing those two dynamics. And then as I grew, I began to see those same kind of dynamics expand in other areas, all the way, to Africa. So what got me into wellness is wanting, is every day when I wake up, I want to help put your wellness in your hands. Anyone that I'm talking to, it's about helping them evolve into wellness and heal, and really break past barriers that were in their way before. And ways that I do that, again, kind of bringing it full circle in my daily life, is, with every morning I meditate with my children. Every morning we do yoga together. Every morning we pray to our ancestors. We honor the divine. And it's something that I've literally ingrained into who I am and into my family, into my lineage. And it's something that now I take out into the world, and I provide multiple wellness opportunities for people that I coach. I also do other things as well on the side that deal with everything from tech to business consulting to I've even done some commercial real estate, but my primary focus is on the wellness.
Okay, so that's a part of your passion, is what I'm hearing.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so my question to you also, how does it feel to be a young father, a young man taking on a wife and having the boldness to have an actual family? Because young men, I've interviewed another young man, and you guys are just, my hat goes off to you for making the decision to marry at an early age and have family. How is that for you?
Well, it's a blessing, but the other thing it's a responsibility. And what I talk to my son about is, don't try to create the perfect life. You can create paradise, but even paradise might not be perfect. But what you do, but what you do in that is, if you do your best in everything you do, then what culminates from that, what you build from that, what compounds from that is, is just that. It's your best. And choose your responsibilities wisely, because these responsibilities, especially the responsibility of being a father and a husband, this isn't a 1 month or 1 week. This is not even a one lifetime thing, because when my great grandchildren go and look at the family tree, they'll see my wife and I, and it will show them that this bond wasn't about the 11 years that we were together before we got married, since we've been together since 16. This is about the rest of our lineage. As long as my river flows, everyone down my river can look upstream and say, this is who my great grandfather was. This is who his mother was. This is who his daughters were and who his son was. And when I look at that, and I really, and I look at legacy building, which is something that obviously is, I was raised on. Again, you talk, yes. I'm going to talk about my upbringing. I was raised on that legacy building. Fatherhood is to me, it's a part of manhood. Not just having a child, but I'm saying actually fathering that child. Without that, manhood is kind of absent. That's what makes you a man is fathering. So, right. I know I kind of went.
No, I know this is your interview. This is about you, because B-HBrilliantMinds Project Inc., we are creating a legacy. And that's always been in our forefront and the focus of why we do what we do in our actual community. So because we could not do our Juneteenth celebration outside, we had the opportunity to have a virtual Juneteenth. So it's like, wow, what do we do? How do we make this happen? And the ancestors and Lord came to me and said, what you do is that you create space where you can get personal interviews on the folks that have already and always participate with us. So our vendors, we want to make sure their stories are being told and heard and seen. And this is our legacy to continue to go on, and our ancestors being proud of what you're saying, because we're standing on their shoulders, we're standing on their faith. And all of what I heard you say is a part of that. The foundation is them. And you have decided to continue on in that foundation by your father and your mother. So with that, I know I have another part of question I wanted to ask you is, what would you say to a young man that's thinking about getting married? What would you say to him?
I would say meditate on it, pray on it, be patient. I'd say the three most valuable things that I could say have really helped me in the 17 years I've been in my relationship is, number one, patience, understanding, and values. And I would definitely say take a look at patience and understand the person that you're with. It doesn't matter how excellent they are, they're not going to be perfect. Exactly. And so don't try to choose someone that in your mind is perfect, because then you set them up for failure. They can never achieve that. But instead, you choose someone that I recognize your flaws and I accept them. And actually, I see that some of those flaws are things that are some of my strengths. So because I recognize it, again, with that patience, I don't get frustrated when I recognize that. I say, well, how can I share my experience with you and help you grow from that? And vice versa. I see someone that, okay, some of the things that they are more patient with me on are wellness opportunities for me to grow. And I can look right at, to my right and see my partner there. And then the values are so important, and I'd say one of the most important values is devotion. Don't get caught up in the love thing, because it's really a chemical reaction, and you want to have your values, and you want to be and you want to be devoted to your values. So if you look at what devotion is in marriage versus what love is in the media, it's love is as long as I feel good, as long as my head is in the clouds, we're good. The second that dream is interrupted, it's bad, right? That now it's love and hate. Whereas when you're married to someone and you're saying, okay, I'm not only dedicating the rest of this life, but my river, it's despite how I feel. It's actually the opposite. Despite how I feel, despite my feelings, these are things that I'll never do to you. These are values that I'll never break. These are values that will never come down. And so values is key. And then understanding, for sure, you got to have understanding, because what comes out in a marriage, and essentially once you have children, is these epigenetics that can go back to 12 generations. There's things that her mother is experiencing because of what her great-grandfather did to her grandfather, and he gave it to her mother. You know what I'm saying? And so there's all of these different things that you're dealing with, and some of them are not visible. Some of the conflicts that arise that you have to harmonize in your marriage are not because of you. They're not even because of what your partner did in this life, but it's because of what their great-great-great-grandmother saw someone get lynched, 150 years ago, and it set off a trauma that lasted all of these times. Maybe she became more abusive. Maybe her son became an alcoholic because of that. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? And so now it's trickling down, and now it's affecting our marriage, and it's affecting our children. And it takes understanding of that, and it takes that patience, and then it takes those values to bring it all home and say, okay, that was the way that we had to survive through those circumstances. Now these values are in place for us to survive now, today. And that devotion is to that survival.
I love that. Boy, I can say you're a wise young man. Very wise, well-spoken young man. I know the ancestors and your family is very proud of you. So what would you say to your son that is going out into the world that has to deal with all this trauma? What do you say to him and to your daughter?
I say, I say there's four things I would say. Number one, virtues, profit, pleasure, and then the last one I would say is ancestors. And so virtue for me is, my virtues are successful when they result in good conduct and they result in humility. And so if I can just tell my children this: you're no greater than anyone, you're no lower than anyone, you're yourself, accept yourself. This is who you came here to be. And there was 1 in 400 trillion chance that you would have come. And out of all of the ancestors that could have come back, you came back. Yes. And what you chose. So that's number one, virtue. Then profit. Whatever you receive is a gift. Whether it's your life is a gift, whether it's a stick of gum, it's a gift. And your profit is not successful unless, one, you give to charity, or your spiritual teachers, or your Brahmins, or your priests, or whatever. 2, you give to your investments and things so that you have security. And 3, you give to enjoyment. And then number 3 is pleasure. And when the family is enjoyed, when children are born, when your legacy is expanding, your nation is expanding, and they're expanding with these virtues and these profits, enjoy yourself, have fun. And then the last one I say is ancestors. And this is really about honoring everything, because it doesn't matter what spiritual practice you believe in. It doesn't matter which God you honor. You came through a mother and a father, who came through a mother and a father. And every gift that is given to you in this life could not have come unless your ancestors made sure that your lineage has survived to this point. Now, whether they've had to do that from, working hard, or whether they did that through slavery, or whether they did that through hunting and gathering, it's now our time to take this forward. And the way that you do that is that you honor your ancestors is you make sure that your virtues are successful, you make sure your profits are successful, and you're never substituting profit for virtue. Oh, I have all this money, now I'm holier than thou. And you're never putting your pleasure over your profit or your virtue. And you're never ignoring your responsibilities when it comes to your profit to give to those less fortunate, or give to those who are consistently dedicating their life to the evolution of our culture and our people.
Well, thank you for sharing that information. My next question to you would be, what do you do for self-care?
What I do for self-care is every day. The very first thing I do is wash myself. I do ablutions. And then I go over my values. I pray, and I have a sacred space where, unless I've completely washed myself, I don't even go into, and I honor my ancestors. I honor the divine. I get out of there, I work out. Then I go and I do yoga, and I meditate, and I do all of this with my whole family. And then there's times when I go off just to the water, or just into the nature, and I may meditate for, say, 20 minutes. I may meditate for 30 minutes, up to an hour. And I like doing that around twilight or sunset, just because the sky is a little bit more beautiful. And then it depends on what the season is. So like in the winter time, I do yoga in slow motion. In the summertime, I do yoga to sweat. And so it kind of depends. I've also, my eating habits have changed. I don't eat red meat or chicken. I have some fish every once in a while, but I'm 95% vegetarian. And there's herbs, there's smoothies, there's all of these other things. But I would also say, as far as trauma, the greatest self-care that I've done as far as trauma is EMDR. And
what is that?
EMDR is bilateral stimulation. So you can do bilateral stimulation by walking, right? Your feet are on but it's when two opposite sides of your brain are working like this. And what it does is it works almost like a combustion engine, and it helps you process your traumas. So it's, if, for instance, I know someone that when they were 6 years old, they got in a bad car accident and completely almost forgot their whole childhood. They blacked out.
Wow.
Well, when they go back through the parts of their childhood that they remember, and they go just through the feelings, it's because what happens is our brain shuts down when we have this trauma, and it says, just stop, because now your ability to cope is beyond what I'm able to produce for you. So what it does is it completely shuts it down. And those sensations and thoughts create an experience in your frontal lobe. And then your amygdala stores that with the feeling and the memory, and it stores that. And so now that I'm doing that, it's almost like massaging out a knot in my emotional brain. And then, but it really mainly affects the brain stem, where all of our subconscious stuff is stored, where you might see a couple in Walmart arguing because, why did you talk to me like that, right? Maybe the woman or the man, either one of them are saying, why did you talk to me like that? And really, all the person did was pick up a Snickers. But that Snickers triggered a trauma when they got their butt whooped for stealing a Snickers, and they didn't even know that it was stealing because they were so young, they didn't understand money. So now you picked up that Snickers, it's triggered the amygdala, it's triggered this memory, which now brings back these thoughts, and now we're having this argument. And so when you have any of those backups, bilateral stimulation, you could do it like this. You can do it by patting your hands on your knees. You can do it by looking like this with your eyes. You can even do it by just as you thinking about your traumas while you're taking a walk, because that is EMDR, and it's a tremendous thing when you've had trauma, especially the amount of trauma that Black men and women have.
Yes.
Doing EMDR and meditating afterwards is that's my greatest recommendation for mental health care.
That is awesome. And I thank you for, again, sharing that information. My other question for you would be, did you choose your career or did your career choose you?
I'm a believer that destiny is all powerful. And there's endeavor. We can endeavor as much as we want. And sometimes destiny will pave the way. But destiny is all powerful. You know, the fact that I was born in the place that I was born, through the mother that I was born through, in the city at the time when the sun was rising at that specific spot, the specific ascendant. In a way, I did make that agreement by being nourished in my mother's womb. But when it comes down to once I'm here, I'd say destiny kind of sets the tone for it all. And I say that also because I'm into wellness, and one of my traumas growing up was my experience with my father. He was extremely sick, and so he wasn't able to be in my life as much as I would have liked. And so when I dedicate myself to wellness, I'm able to put myself in a position to increase the well-being of every other person that may be in that position, so that there's not another child waiting at, on the sideline at the football game, looking up in the stands and wishing they saw, their father or something like that.
Yeah. So my question to you, when you hear this word gathering, what comes to your mind? Gathering.
I'm sorry, one more time.
When you hear the word gathering, what comes to your mind?
Gathering, synergy, unity, a village, a tribe, oneness. I think of a melting pot of ideas. The idea that with one, you can do some things. With two, you can do 4 times that. With 3, you could do 20 times that. And I also say what kind of holds that glue together with all of that is values.
Yeah.
What about the word rain? When you hear rain, what comes to your mind when you hear rain? The word rain.
I think it depends. I'd say when I first think of rain, I think of nourishment. I also, sometimes people think of solace, rainwater on the window, cleansing. Sometimes there's that sadness that comes with rain, but I also think of, sometimes it stings when you cleanse those wounds. Yeah, I think of, cleansing.
My next question would be, what do you feel when you hear the word pain?
Healing. I think when you're hurt, when there's pain, you're backed up on your healing. And so it's something that you have to work on every day. You don't wait for the pain, because when the pain comes, even that, you stub your toe. You sing a song right after you stub your toe, the pain's away. But if you're backed upon your healing, you're going to sit in that pain a little bit longer.
That's right.
so
That's right.
so it's like for me.
Uh-oh.
So when I think of pain, I think healing. I'm hurt and I need to heal. I also think when I think of pain, I think of the complexities of pain and how oftentimes we create more pain in our lives and more suffering in our lives because we haven't dealt with previous pain. So again, I think if you're not doing something in reference to healing every day, you're probably going to get backed upon your healing, seeing as from the moment we're born, there's trauma. You know, birth is a traumatic process. Did you get any immunizations as a child? That's a traumatic process. You know, even something as simple as being uncomfortable and a child crying to be changed. And so that all of these things we're suffering from the moment we're born. And also I'd say if pain is an energy we can tap into, we can also tap into healing. We could tap into abundance, the abundance of healing. We could tap into a lot of things. But I'm one of those that say, you know, you don't have to nourish in your despair. There's plenty of other things you can nourish in, but pain happens. When it happens, face it head on. Don't ignore it. Sit with the feelings, let it process fully, because the only time you get an L, the only time you get a loss is when there's no lesson. That's the only time that turns into a loss.
All right, wise young man. All right now. So my next question for you, and everything is winding down, but if you, what would you like to create or share or give to the world for your legacy?
So that's actually my company, my organization, what we're working on. We're working on an application that literally puts your wellness in your hands. And when I mean your wellness, I don't just mean physical health. We use what we call the 3 dialogues. And there's these 3 dialogues that are always happening in various ways. The first one is with yourself, your mental health, physical health, emotional health, vitality. The second is with others. That's your financial health, your relationship health, your health and relationship with the environment and your surroundings, and your career or service to humanity. And then the third conversation, the third dialogue is the dialogue with the divine, your creative potential, your legacy, your spiritual practices that keep you grounded in that and those values with that. And then the vision or your destiny for your life. And we want to create an application that's really like a super app that has all of these things embedded into it with an AI that can pretty much help you be a GPS system for you. If you want to achieve this thing in your life, this AI tells you the most holistic way to do it. And so it's removing these blockages, the blockage of, I don't know how to do it, or the blockage of, well, what if I'm not good enough, or the blockage of, I don't have enough money, or the blockage of, I don't have anyone in that network. We begin to remove all of those blockages that usually prevent us and make, you know, we've had these excuses over time. And not all of them are just, and when I say excuses, I don't mean it in a negative context, but I mean, some of these are real serious reasons, you know, when you go as far as systemic racism and things like that. But now it's this tool of all tools, the Swiss Army knife of your wellness that understands you with an empathetic mind. So it's able to comprehend when you're suffering and provide tools that work for that, to alleviate that. science-based tools, as well as spiritual tools, and that would be their option. And I think, you know, with an application like that, where everyone has their wellness in their hand, they can actually see it. It's scalable. They could zoom in, they can zoom out. They see the data right in front of them. They can really begin to take life in their own hands. And they're empowered to build life as their paradise. They don't, and it's like this thing where I make an adjustment on my phone and I see the real consequences in this life. And the greatest, outside of the wellness part of it, I'd say the greatest gift that we will be giving in that is, you know, these trillion-dollar tech companies, these mega billion-dollar tech giants, they own our data.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that we put on their platforms, they then own and they can monetize from. But if we share that monetization, that means every time you do something to become more well on our application, and we share those advertising dollars back to you, because by you becoming more well and you becoming a healthier person, you naturally are going to improve the well-being of your community. You're naturally going to improve the well-being of your family. You're naturally going to improve the well-being of your city. And we believe that you should be paid for that, beyond just the spiritual reward. But I'll just be honest, we also live in a material world. We are spiritual beings in this material world. But if we can create a way for, just by me empowering myself and empowering my community by watching this YouTube video, by watching this webinar, by learning this craft, whatever, and I can get paid for doing that. Mm-hmm. You can see now with a little bit of incentive for wellness, it's even more empowering. I'll say this last thing. In my living room, I have this whiteboard where I've written goals and things on it. And one of the things that I have on there is this question. It says, how can I make wellness more exciting than sex, drugs, and money?
Oh, that's good.
No, sex, drugs, and sugar. Because I'd say they're all a drug.
Yeah.
Sugar, and they're all lust, and we lust after them all. And so, you know, I'd say, you know, if we can create a tool that is more compelling to the human being than sex, drugs, and sugar, I think that would be a tremendous legacy to leave behind.
Wow. Well, I want to tell you that I know that our ancestors would be very, very proud of you leaving that type of legacy behind for the future to follow after. Also, we want to say we commend you on being a young man and well-rounded and knowing where you want to go and what you want to do. It's so important. You are an inspiration for us to share your video with others, young folks, and hopefully it'll empower them too. So we just want to say thank you. B-HBrilliantMinds Project Inc. invites everybody to continue to joining us in celebrating the Juneteenth 196, a 2020 special edition. How we came up with the Juneteenth 196 is that if you were to count the days from Juneteenth to December the 31st, it's 196 days. So the ancestors gave us that for we could continue. We know we're supposed to celebrate Black history and Juneteenth 365 days. However, we extended it, and we're so grateful and thankful to have had that opportunity. And our theme was, we are the breath of our ancestors. We will never break because we are history shakers and makers. This is in honor of acknowledging that Black culture, Black minds, Black breath, and Black lives matter. And we are saying it loud because we are Black and proud. Our sponsors is who we want to thank for giving us this opportunity. The Windrose fund of the Human Council Foundation. We want to say thank you so very, very much to them for giving you this opportunity, for giving us this opportunity to create this legacy. This session will be uploaded to B-HBrilliantMinds.org, www.B-HBrilliantMinds.org. You can go on our website and you can send folks to it, and they will be able to see your personal interview, and it'll be uploaded to YouTube. So I just want to tell you, Mr. Jackson, we want to say thank you so very much, and keep doing what you're doing. And we're grateful and thankful that you are part of this world, chosen for such a time as this, to let your gifts to encourage and motivate someone else. Thank you so much.